My name is Kelsey Jones. I am the pre-K teacher through Nash County Public School System. I work at the Children's Center at Northern Nash. Part of my class are tuition paid preschool students. Then the other half of my class are deemed at risk and need of early intervention. And some of those students are exceptional children's students. We started our school year remote. Oh, Jenny, do you have something that makes a noise? Oh, you have a guitar?
Wow.
Amazing. Elijah, what do you have that makes a noise? Oh, I like it. And then we came back to school on September 21st. Everybody came in together. I noticed that the children were so ready to enter the classroom after the Zoom meetings for 4 whole weeks. At some point in time in that very beginning, I got an indirect exposure and had to quarantine for 2 days until that person tested negative. And then I got exposed again and had to quarantine for 14 days. Both times I've been very lucky, tested negative. So I've missed a total of 16 days in the classroom because of quarantine. Although it was really neat because I Zoomed into the classroom during those quarantine days. So I still got to take a part in it, and the children still got to participate with me, and I still get to keep those connections. Because of COVID, our class size is reduced by half. If we get more than 9 children, we would have to go to an A week, B week, where they would not be able to come every week. Currently, I have 7, and I'm getting ready to get 1 more, and so we're good. Look and see how Cora and Maddox have space between them. Cora and Chance have space between them. Chance and Elijah. Well, our classroom is extremely small, although we've worked really hard to find ways for our children to play safely together. This rug is barely 6 feet, but they get to pick a new letter each week so that they're actually 4 or 5 letters apart. So I can somewhat socially distance in this area. We're a classroom where the children create the rules, the children create how many people go in each center. Of course, I have a little bit to do with it, but they help create it. So in housekeeping, we would normally let 3 or 4 children in. Now that we kind of have to socially distance, we had to say only 2. Blocks is normally the biggest center in your classroom, and we would normally let 4 children be in this center. But now we're only allowing 2. We started out with 3 and we couldn't keep them quite far enough away from each other. So we got them to bring it back down to 2 children. So our reading area also doubles as our storage in our cubbies, because I would normally have 15 children. Well, we started out with 6, now we're up to 7. So I'm able to give the children 2 cubbies to fully separate and keep their things apart. And you'll see some masks in the cubbies. We have the boxes for them to keep their mask in. There's 2 little chairs on each side for them to be by themselves and read. Here's our socially distanced, keep your distance. We have to have it outside and inside. Have one on every wall in the classroom. So those X marks are for when our parents come. If there's somebody at the door, you have to stand on an X 6 feet apart and wait with your child to come to the door and wait for that other parent to leave. Sorry about the fan. Each day, the parents would sign their children in on the same clipboard. They would use the same pen. Well, now we have this so that we don't have to touch it. They find their child's name, and each child has their own clipboard that is signed. Their own pen is attached, and it's not even kept in the classroom. We put it in the storage building at the end of the day to keep those germs from coming in the classroom. And this is something that we've never done before. We would always have 1 sign-in sheet per day. So you could easily pull it and see who's here. We have our COVID questions in English and Spanish that they have to ask. And it's also on their clipboard, these same questions that they have to answer yes or no. We also have our little thermometer that we check their temperatures every day. We have little smiley faces all over the hard floor for them to find a place to stand. We don't get to really line up anymore. It's more of find a smiley face to stand on while you're waiting. And it kind of turns into a game because we're trying to keep them distance when they're washing their hands, when we're waiting to go outside. Like, we've had to really get creative. When will a child be waiting and we need to give them a smiley face? And those X's that I showed you on the sidewalk, we also have them as we're going to the playground. Now, on the playground, we don't enforce the socially distancing as much. As we're outside, there's good wind. If there's no wind at all outside, I do work harder on, trying to pull 1 or 2 away when I see them get in a really close spot. So Jenny, she was building this little thing out of yellow things outside on the playground by herself. She will not share, would not take turns. She protected that building. Nobody could come play with it. The little boy Chance, he cried, Jenny, please, please, please let me play. She finally said, okay. And she scooted over and she let those children in. And that was the first time she's ever shared her space. And the pre-K teacher in me was like, do I stop this? Do I make them get out because that's not COVID appropriate, even though this is growth social emotional appropriate? So then the teacher in me thought real quick, oh, wait, I let them play. And then I started a game of, run around. But that is one of the struggles of how things have changed. Not for them. They don't notice the change, but for us. So in the morning, I would normally put on my greeting apron, which is, do you want a bear hug? Do you want a heartwarming smile? Do you want a wiggly handshake, or do you want a high five? Well, I had, 2 children who were here before. They were very used to this. When they came in the classroom the first day, they were looking for it. Where's our greeting? And so we had to come up with new greetings because we can't physically touch. So we came up with bop fives instead of high fives, where we just hit the air and say bop. I'm going to come around and I'm going to give each of you an air high five. And that means I'm still trying, but we're not going to touch your hands, right? Are you ready? Are you ready for an air high five? Say bop. Bop. Are you ready for one? Say bop. We still do our heartwarming smile. That's somebody who doesn't really want to be touched. And instead of a wiggly handshake, which would be like this, we do an elbow bump. Can I have one? Bing. All right, Jenny. Bing. You ready? Bing. We came up with air hugs instead of bear hugs. Girl, I'm so proud of you. I'm going to give you an air hug. So you got to wrap your arms around like this, and we got to say, good job. Oh, I wish I could give you a real hug. All right, now. So one of the little girls came in the other day, and the other little boy was already playing, and he ran over, and I loved it because it just shows, yes, what I'm repeating every day is working. And he said, air hug, and she said, air hug, and they were just so happy. I miss the physical touch. I miss seeing them give each other hugs and high fives and all of that, but they're responding to the newness of all of this. A totally new story is our easel is small. They're definitely not 6 feet away from each other. They're only on one side. But Jenny was painting and Chance said, I wanted to paint. And Jenny scooted over and said, come on. I'm like, I'm not going to say no. This is you making room for him and sharing and taking turns. I'm not going to say no. So I think I may have made sure that Jenny had on her mask if they were going to be that close. So it's a whole new way of trying not to knock out their social development while you're keeping them safe. Do you have to wear a mask every day?
No.
But can you wear a mask if you want to? Yeah. Does anybody want to go get their mask and show it to me? Show me what your mask looks like. Laura, Maddox, Brooklyn, do you have one today, Chance? We're asking them to keep their mask on all day, and oftentimes they're pulling them off because I'm having a hard time keeping a mask on all day, and it's irritating just to my skin and my face. Sometimes my throat gets raspy at the end of the day from breathing in just hot air all day. So they'll pull them down, or I have one little girl who she wears hers like this, the chin strap. And all I have to do is just do this, and she'll pull it back out, and as soon as I walk away, she pulls it back down. It's obviously uncomfortable. So that is our little social board, like show your feelings, how are you feeling, problem solving questions, things like that. And I can show pictures of faces and we can do that, but with the mask on, can you really see my facial expressions? Can you recognize feeling? A misconception for me, I always thought that the biggest part of facial expressions were our mouths. So I did my own little study. Can they recognize my facial expressions while I'm wearing a mask? And we played games. How am I feeling? And we would take pictures. I've mimicked the sad face with my mask on. I've mimicked smiling, all these other things to see, can they really identify them? And believe it or not, they can do it really through your eyes. And I'm like, this is so cool to know that they are learning facial expressions just through your eyes, not always your mouth. And I didn't think they were going to recognize them, and that would prevent them from growing in that area. And I'm finding that no, they're still recognizing these feelings, and they're recognizing their friends with the mask on too. One thing I'm having to change is I'm very much used to getting down on their level, talking with them face to face. A lot of the children that I have are hearing impaired or speech and language needs, trying to let them see my mouth. And the first week that I was in the classroom, not on Zoom, and we have awareness of COVID. They don't. One of them sneezed right in my face. My hair blew back and everything. And I was like, oh, Kelsey, you have to back up a little bit, but still try to stay on their same level. My life philosophy is every dark cloud has a silver lining. You can choose to focus on the negatives, or you can choose to focus on the positives. COVID was pretty scary when I started coming back to school. I was a little nervous about being in here with others. It is a bit of a risk. And then I thought, well, there's other things that I'm doing that are a light risk. Sometimes I go to the grocery store. That's a risk. I said, so am I going to give up on something I really enjoy because of fear? Or am I just going to get past it and enjoy it and do the best I can? And some of the safety features, when we first hear about them, we're like, oh, that is ridiculous. We don't want to do that. Everybody's going to go through that little bit of a whine stage, but move on and find the positive. I want to keep working with children. And if you continue to focus on that negative, when are you going to be happy and when are you going to enjoy what you're doing? Our children are so resilient. What we've learned is we can make sure the children are safe while learning through play together.